Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are opening a profoundly important file on Japan.
We really are.
For decades, the nation's security identity was, defined by post-war constraint. But that era it's over. The policy is changing, the budget is spiking, and the industrial landscape is undergoing a generational shift.
And that change is encapsulated perfectly in the document we're diving into today. The Defense of Japan 2024 White Paper. This one is a landmark publication.
Right.
It's marking both the 70th anniversary of the Self-Defense Forces, the JSDF, and it's also the 50th edition of the paper itself.
And what a document it is. The metaphor they chose for this anniversary paper is it's key. Sword forging, or katana kaji. Why is that so significant right now?
It's so much more than a nice phrase. It's a political statement. I mean, for post-war Japan, security was often about passive defense, right? And relying almost entirely on the U.S. So choosing the katana kaji metaphor, it explicitly signals a major psychological and political break. It symbolizes this continuous, intense effort required to build strong deterrence. The idea is that they have to forge a sword so sharp, so formidable, that adversaries are just deterred from conflict entirely. Yeah. It's a shift to proactive strength.
I think that framework translating strategic determination into tangible capabilities is exactly what our mission is today. We're looking at where this massive investment is being directed and what key areas of growth emerge for anyone tracking the Asia-Pacific region.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with the why. What are the severe, complex threats driving Japan to fundamentally change its security posture right now?
You have to look at the immediate neighborhood, and the white paper is unsparing in its assessment. China is explicitly labeled the greatest strategic challenge.
Explicitly?
Yes. And what's critical here is the explicit acknowledgement that the military balance around Taiwan is tilting rapidly in China's favor. This is a profound shift in regional stability.
And this is where the facts become just undeniable. China is focused on this rapid military buildup, aiming to achieve a world-class military status, specifically centering on something they call intelligentized warfare.
Right.
What does that concept actually look like on the ground?
It's the future of conflict. It's moving beyond just simple platform superiority. Intelligentized warfare means integrating emerging technologies. Think advanced AI for situation awareness and command, real-time data fusion, quantum-resistant communications, and this is crucial, unmanned systems and drone swarms. It means overwhelming an adversary, not just with numbers, but with networked, high-speed, autonomous decision-making.
And the numbers really underline the speed of this challenge. The sources point out that quantitative imbalance, like China fielding, 1,588 modern fourth and fifth generation fighters, compared to Taiwan's 321.
That's a huge gap. And that quantitative buildup is matched by increasing aggressive operational activity. We're seeing frequent intrusions by Chinese Coast Guard ships around the Senkaku Islands, which Japan administers.
Right.
And sustained operations by Chinese carriers, like the Fujian. This isn't theoretical. It's an immediate operational reality that forces Japan to respond in the waters right on its doorstep.
And right alongside that pacing challenge, we have North Korea, which the paper assesses as an even more serious and imminent threat. What capability are they demonstrating that warrants that level of urgency?
Well, the primary concern is North Korea's advanced missile program. They've demonstrated the technical capability to launch a nuclear attack on Japan using ballistic missiles that are squarely within range.
Wow.
And the concrete operational response to this is the start of real-time missile warning data sharing among Japan, the U.S., and South Korea, which began late last year. That rapid connectivity is vital because every second counts in a missile warning scenario.
It sounds like Japan is currently facing the most acute and multifaceted threat environment since the Cold War. But the white paper also connects these regional pressures to broader global instability.
Absolutely, and this is the context that really widens the scope for investment. The war in Ukraine, specifically the air defense shortages Kyiv faced, highlighted a critical vulnerability.
Yeah.
Reliance on external supply and the necessity of maintaining robust domestic resilience. The conflicts in the Middle East only reinforce the unpredictability of global energy and trade routes.
So, for the learner interested in investment, what's the strategic implication of connecting that global volatility back to Japan?
It means security is no longer just a military issue. It is intrinsically linked to economic policy. The implication is a massive expansion of security concerns into economic domains.
Okay.
We're talking about increasing threats to critical infrastructure, extreme fragility in global supply chains, and the necessity of leveraging economic tools for national security. If you are tracking technological dependencies or the resilience of key industries like semiconductors or energy, those are now core defense issues backed by government spending.
Let's pivot now to Japan's strategic response. The what? The response is termed a fundamental reinforcement of defense capabilities, which requires an unprecedented amount of funding. The long-term plan requires a contract value of approximately 43.5 trillion over 5 years. How massive is that commitment in context?
To put that into perspective, this is a generational, almost doubling of defense spending. They're aiming to meet NATO's 2% of GDP target within the decade.
2%. Wow.
Yeah. This is not incremental budgeting. It is a profound structural change in national priorities. And naturally, a key focus of this spending is strengthening the defense posture in the Southwest region.
And we see that through troop deployments to islands like Yonaguni, Amami-Oshima, Miyakojima, and Ishigakujima. Why those specific locations?
It's all about geography. These islands form a strategic defensive chain, ensuring Japan can maintain observation and control of crucial sea lanes and strategically positioned choke points near Taiwan. They're not just sending personnel. They are upgrading the 15th Brigade in Okinawa to a full division status. That's a much higher level of command and combat readiness.
And what really stood out to me in the source material was the strategic investment in infrastructure across the entire nation, specifically the development of specified use airports and ports.
That's a massive logistical investment. These are dual-use infrastructure projects aimed at ensuring smooth, rapid utilization by both the JSDF and the Japan Coast Guard.
So better roads, runways.
Better roads, runways, deep water ports, all strengthened and strategically located nationwide. This signals a commitment to nationwide logistical resilience, ensuring forces and supplies can be rapidly moved and sustained across Japan's Long Island chains.
They're also investing heavily in capabilities that allow them to project force at a distance. These counterstrike capabilities designed to deter invasion forces far from Japan's shores. We're talking about upgrading the Type 12 surface-to-ship guided missiles and developing hypervelocity gliding projectiles. What makes those systems game changers?
The shift toward these standoff systems is perhaps the clearest operational departure from previous policy. The upgraded Type 12 missiles dramatically increase range, allowing Japan to hold invasion forces at risk from protected land positions.
Okay.
The hypervelocity gliding projectiles are particularly crucial because they don't follow a predictable ballistic arc. They glide non-ballistically at extremely high speeds.
Which makes them harder to shoot down.
Exactly. It makes them significantly harder for any current air defense system to track and intercept. This enhances deterrence by increasing the risk for any potential aggressor.
And beyond the missiles and ships, the funding is flowing into the cutting edge. This is where the highest tech opportunities lie. We mentioned China's intelligentized warfare. Japan is clearly responding by funding its own new domains.
That's right. The documents clearly prioritize implementing active cyber defense. The goal isn't passive defense. It's achieving functional parity with major Western nations. And that means a massive investment in strengthening the NISC, the National Center of Incident Readiness and Strategy for Cybersecurity. Practically, this means significant government spending on new security architecture, systems acquisition, and high-level talent recruitment to manage the new cyber mandate.
We also see major defense-wide R&D spend, matching funds with civilian tech in areas like AI for situation awareness and quantum computing. I also noticed the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force is testing high-end unmanned systems like the MQ-9B Sea Guardian UAVs.
And framing this R&D spend as a necessary pivot is vital. Japan understands that future deterrence relies less on sheer numbers and more on technological advantage. This reliance will drive future investment toward domestic technological strength and global collaboration in high-end fields like post-quantum cryptography.
So they're building the foundation now.
They are funding the foundations now because they see AI and unmanned systems as critical components of their future force structure.
That 43.5 trillion is enormous. We know Japan faces structural economic challenges. Is there any domestic political or economic skepticism about a spending commitment of that scale, especially given Japan's debt levels?
That's the structural tightrope Japan is walking. While there is public support for stronger defense given the geopolitical climate, the government acknowledges the cost, but frames the spending not as an expense, but as an investment, an essential insurance policy for national survival and economic stability.
Okay.
And crucially, they are aiming to make the defense spending stimulus also drive technological innovation in the civilian sector.
Let's talk about the industrial and structural challenges that underpin this new force. Even with all this new technology, the sources acknowledge a severe manpower crisis due to the shrinking labor force and low birth rate. How is the JSDF coping with that?
It's a huge problem. They are attempting to address the shortage through improving compensation and the working environment, but retention remains a major issue. However, their use in crucial disaster relief efforts, like the 2024 Noto Peninsula earthquake, demonstrates their essential role and provides a vital training ground, often utilizing reservists and quick response units to maximize their operational utility.
The structural fixes also extend deep into the supply chain, which is perhaps the most compelling area for investors looking at the defense industrial base. The white paper is very direct about this.
It is.
It says inadequate past investment led to a retreat of ammunition manufacturers and facility maintenance, creating significant fragility.
And that is a critical insight into the why behind the new budget allocation. To reverse decades of neglect and fix that fragility, the white paper stresses that over 40% of the 5-year budget is now dedicated to sustainment and resilience.
30% just on sustainment.
Just on that. Securing ammunition, fuel, strengthening infrastructure. This is a massive generational push to rebuild domestic industrial capacity from the ground up, moving away from vulnerable just-in-time supply chains. This guarantees long-term spending on domestic defense contractors.
And they are rebuilding this industrial base not just domestically, but through international high-profile cooperation. The Global Combat Air Program, or GCP, is the flagship example, isn't it?
GCP, the Next Generation Fighter program with the UK and Italy, is monumental. It is Japan's first major international defense development project, allowing them to participate in the entire life cycle of a complex fighter jet.
Okay.
And this international cooperation extends to logistics and sustainment. Japan is establishing major maintenance depots, like the facilities at Komaki South for F-35 airframes and Mizuho for engines, which are specifically designed to serve the entire Asia-Pacific region.
So that makes Japan a regional maintenance hub that fundamentally changes Japan's political and economic role in the region.
It absolutely does. It embeds Japan deeper into the global defense ecosystem, standardizing their supply chains and technological processes with NATO allies. But this reliance on international cooperation has to be balanced. We must be impartial and note the acknowledged issues with foreign military sales, or FMS, procurement from the U.S.
What are those specific FMS challenges acknowledged in the sources?
Well, while FMS volume remains high for crucial systems like the F-35s, E-2D Hawkeyes, and SM-3 missiles, the documents, they acknowledge issues like delayed delivery schedules and settlement problems.
I see.
These challenges prompt bilateral efforts to strengthen management and transparency, indicating that even in close alliances, supply chain reliability remains a complex issue.
And finally, as Japan strengthens its defense base at home, it is also extending its global footprint, participating actively in international peace operations.
Yes, like the multinational force and observers in the Sinai Peninsula and UNMISS in South Sudan. And this commitment requires supporting overseas assets. The base in Djibouti proved essential, utilized recently for critical foreign civilian transport, including missions during crises in Sudan and Israel.
A long-term strategic asset.
A very long-term strategic asset that solidifies Japan's commitment to security beyond its territorial waters, ensuring it can protect its interests and citizens globally.
This has been a truly comprehensive dive, translating Japan's strategic resolve, the sword forging, into clear investment and structural change signals. So if the learner walks away with 3 main points today, what should they be?
I think the investment narrative is one of comprehensive generational modernization. So first, Japan is making a clear and funded strategic shift toward long-range strike capabilities for proactive deterrence. The sword is now sharp, and they have the means to use it to deter aggression from a distance.
Got it.
Second, the focus on new domains, cyber, AI, quantum, represents substantial government-backed R&D acceleration.
Right.
This is where future technological growth will be concentrated.
Okay.
And third, the defense industrial base is undergoing a massive long-term renewal. This is driven by global partnerships like GNXP and huge domestic investment in logistics and sustainment infrastructure, which guarantees long-term contract stability.
That structural renewal is the strategic pivot. Japan is strengthening its defense structure, not just for itself, but explicitly through greater interoperability and technology sharing with a host of allies, the US, UK, Italy, India, Australia. What does it mean for the future when Japan, historically constrained, transforms its defense industrial base and becomes a high-tech security exporter, sharing advanced systems like the next generation fighter? That is the strategic transformation worth watching in the years to come.
Indeed. We will continue to track these developments as Japan solidifies its new proactive role on the global security stage.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.